Hello friends, today we'll discuss about the latest feature with .NET Core 3.0 and Angular, which is very closely integrated in .NET Core 3.0. So actually yesterday I got the update, the Visual Studio 16.3, which is Visual Studio 2019 version 16.3, and with all the updates 16.3.4 that install all the .NET Core 3.0 and everything is there. So if you can see, it's like .NET Core 3.0 is integrated in Visual Studio. I'll show you how Visual Studio .NET Core is, the compiler and everything is updated, but I'll just go to the command prompt. I'll start with the .NET Core application with Angular. So like a lot of templates are there, the boilerplates are there. So I'll go to command prompt, cmd. Okay, so I'll drive to my E drive. So I'll go to E drive. I'll create a new folder for the application. So I'll just create one weather application. I'll tell you why I'm creating the weather application. Okay, so let me create one md weather app. Let me drive to that one. So I can go to that same folder. Then I can, okay, now let me create the .NET Core 3.0 application with Angular. So I'll just show you how the templates is working. So .NET new, that will show you because .NET Core is installed. So now you can see all this template is there, .NET Core with Angular, .NET Core Web App, .NET Core, all these things are there. So I'll start with .NET Core Angular. I'll show you the how it's created. Okay, so .NET Core, I'll say Angular. So now it will create one application, weather app, and we can see that once the application created. So while creating the application, it will take some time. I'll pause the video and then we'll start the video. Okay, so now we see the application is created. The application path is saying e weather app and weather app.cs.project. So I'll open a Visual Studio now. In Visual Studio, I have to go to that particular directory, open a project or solution. I'll go to that directory and I'll go to application. I'll have that weather app and I have that project. I'll open that project. Okay, so now you see the solution, the application is loading. Okay, so it will take some time. I think the application is loaded. So now see the structure of the application. So it is not new for any Angular application, .NET Core Angular application, but you see this is controller, this is client app, and the client app is the real application. So if you go to the package.json, which will display you the Angular version, which is actually Angular 8. Angular core is the compiler, everything is with Angular 8. And this is using .NET Core 3.0. So let's go to the program. Startup.cs, and I'll also show you that properties. Okay, application. I'll go to .NET Core 3.0. It's loading in .NET 3.0. Okay, so now I'll tell you why I gave the application name and weather application. Because when I am using the template over there, the boilerplate template, so it's creating the weather forecast controller, and this is some dummy data it's creating. Controller, the API is weather forecast controller. This is having one method, get method, that will return you some of the dummy information with all these information from here, from the list. Okay, so let's go and see the client application. We'll have the source, it's the Angular core application, and you have that application counter. I'll run the application so that you can see it and you can know how the application is structured and how it's working. So let me run the application. This will compile the application. Once the application is compiled and run, I'll continue with that one. Okay, so the application is built and it's loaded. You can see the hello world page, and you can see this application is started with ASP.NET Core and C# the cross-platform server-side code, Angular and TypeScript the client-side code, and Bootstrap the layout and styling. So everything is integrated, and also it's interacting with the API. So if you see counter, this is kind of and static incrementer. So it's a small Angular application, Angular logic it's implemented. Fetch data, this is loading the data from the API, the controller that I saw you, the Angular forecast controller is there. So it's pulling the data, it's loading it, and you can see the time zone. So all these things. So now let's go to the code. I'll just explain you how the code is looking like. It's pretty much a Angular application. You can see all the components, all the Angular application. I just stop it. Now let's go to the solution and explore the code. Client application, all the components are there, source code, application. Inside that you have the counter, you have the small logic here, which is kind of one-way data binding. So one counter is there, so the current count, and this is loading. Once the application started, this component, the counter is there. It's incrementing the counter, it's loading it, one-way binding. Now let's go to the fetch data, which is kind of a tabular format of the data. If you see there is a ng for loop, it's getting the data from forecasts. So if you go to there in the TypeScript code, the code behind, you can see the forecast. This is weather forecast, the type, there is a class, weather for class, date, temperature, temperature F, temperature C, summary, everything is there. This is binding the data, result, everything, error. This is calling to the HTTP module. You can see the HTTP module is being common and HTTP module is being implemented. The app module, in the app module, the HTTP client module has been imported. The nav menu is integrated. If you go to the index.html, you can see the application is Bootstrap based. The UI is Bootstrap. And let's go to the, okay. So I'll show you that angular.json, that is where you can see the Bootstrap, the CSS, ng module, everything is integrated. Okay. So now go to the ng module, src is there, and I'll show you the ng module. Solve file, you can see the ng module, and there if I go to the Bootstrap, I'll show you what is the version of the Bootstrap, dist license package.json. It's a 4.3. This is Bootstrap 4.0, Bootstrap 4 basically. So everything latest. If you want to run this application, you can extend this application. This is kind of like boilerplate, which you can change the application and you can close the document. Now I'll just hide this one. So this is pretty much very simple application. You have the pages and you have the controller, you have the client app. So the pages that will load exactly. view importer, weather app.page using weather app. Your weather forecast is your, this is your model that is binding the data from the controller. Yeah, this is the model, it's binding the data. Weather forecast is a model. So this is a very simple application. I mean, just to understand how the Angular 8 is integrated .NET Core 3.0, you can learn it very quickly, and this will give you an overall idea how the Angular application, Angular basically Angular 8 and .NET Core 3, those are integrated. Thanks for watching this video. I will come up with the next session that will explain you how Angular application is integrating with a proper structured application with .NET Core, like proper business logic. You have the data access, the entity framework, .NET Core entity framework will work with proper domain components, domain controller, and the service. I'll come up with an sample application, but the structure will be kind of industry, how the industry is working in that way. So I'll explain that one. Thanks, friends, again. So spending some time with me. I really appreciate your time and thank you again.